right, guys, today was a back day at KSC. Mixed it up a little bit with some stuff that I don't always do. Started off the day with pull-ups, which is something that I do normally always do. It's probably my favorite movement to start off a back day with. It just kind of loosens up my shoulders, kind of allows me to stretch out my lats a little bit and get some blood flow in there. Plus, I really can't do them at any other point in the workout unless I do them first, because once I get going, I really won't have the strength to get enough reps in good form to do any good. So I pretty much always lead off with pull-ups. If you want to do under grip, if you want to do overhand grip, wide, narrow, doesn't really matter too much as long as you can really feel the lats working. You'll notice I take a fairly wide grip on here, and you can see in some of the shots that one of the things that you want to do when you do pull-ups is you want to keep your back somewhat locked into extension, and you want to try to just pull yourself straight up vertically underneath the bar. And I'm not talking about like bullshit CrossFit kipping pull-ups, but I just mean regular strict pull-ups in general. You'll see a lot of guys kind of do like a curving motion, I call it like they're tracing a C. You know, they kind of swing out away from the bar and then back into it. And when you do that, you're really doing a lot of the work just with your arms. You're taking a lot of stress off your lats. So when you go down, you want to try to keep your back into extension. You want to feel the lats stretch at the bottom of the movement. And then you want to pull up from your lats. And that's the reason I always use straps on here. It's not because my grip isn't strong enough to do pull-ups. I can do around the same amount of pull-ups or chin-ups with or without straps, but it disengages your hands a little bit and allows you to pull from your lats much, much better. And then just pull in a straight vertical line right up under the bar, like you're trying to touch the bar right underneath your collarbone with your chest. And if you can do that, you should. I've never really been able to do that. My shoulder blades pretty much get fully contracted by the time my chin is just a couple inches under the bar. So it's a little harder to go chest to bar on these. But if you can, it's good to get a fuller range of motion. So that was pull-ups. I don't always do like a set you know, strategy for sets and reps. A lot of times it's just I just come up with a number. Usually it's 50, and I just complete that in as many sets as it takes me to get there. Usually about a minute or two rest in between until I hit my target number. I think today I got there in about 7 sets, something like that, but I kind of lost track a little bit, to be honest. So but anyway, I got to 50. So from there, went on to rack pulls, which I don't always do. It just depends on where my back day falls in the week, and where it is relative to my next squat workout and my next deadlift workout. Rack pulls are one of those things you got to be careful of a little bit how you program them, because they are so taxing. So I usually don't like them to interfere too much with either my deadlifts or my squats. So sometimes I do them, sometimes I don't, but if I can, I really like to. I think as far as building up thickness and mass in the back, it's hard to beat a rack pull. Low back, mid back, traps, everything. You do a lot high volume, which is what we did today. You're going to really feel the rack pulls the next day. So when I do volume on these, I don't really like to go like heavy volume. It's just too taxing to get up to those kind of weights and pull that kind of volume. I've never been able to recover from it. So if I'm going to go heavy on a rack pull, I typically only maybe do just one top set. But today I was trying to pull with some volume, and I've always been able to recover better when I keep the reps high. A set of 10, a set of 12, and a set of 20 today on the rack pulls, and that was just brutal. My back was brutalized from top to bottom. Worked up to 495 and did a set of 10 at 495, and then I dropped down to 405 and knocked out a set of 12. I felt like I could have done more than 12 at 405. I just really ran out of air more than anything. And then pulled another plate off, dropped down to 315, and knocked out a set of 20. And you'll notice on all these rack pulls that I'm kind of squeezing my upper back at the top. If I'm just pulling for strength, I don't really think about, you know, really contracting my lats hard at the top. I'll just pull the weight straight up until I lock it out. But when I'm doing these as part of like a back workout for volume like this, I'll focus a little bit more on my lats. And so you'll notice as I come up, I retract my shoulder blades pretty hard at the top. And that just, when you do these for a lot of volume and you do that, it's an unbelievable amount of stress on the lats. So if you're trying to do some some growth into the upper back, I definitely recommend on occasion some higher rep rack pulls. It's not something you can really do every week. I'd say every other week at the most. Kind of just depends on the rest of your programming structure, how often you deadlift, how often you squat, because they do take a toll on your low back, so you got to be a little bit careful. Moved on to a T-bar row. After the pull-ups and the rack pulls, my whole back was just totally smoked, so I wasn't able to go real heavy on these. I can only get 3 plates on here, and I think I did 3 sets of like 10 reps on here, but I just kept them real strict. You'll notice on these, I don't heave the weight like a lot of guys do. You wind up using a lot of forearm and a lot of bicep when you do that. You'll notice when I do these that I try to stretch at the bottom, and I pause the weight on the ground, but I don't relax. When I lower the weight, I allow my spine to go into just a little bit of flexion, and then on the concentric part of the movement, you'll notice that I pull my back into hard extension, so I'm actively throwing my back into extension at the same time that I'm driving my elbows backwards and retracting my lats, my shoulder blades. And you should feel it really right in between your shoulder blades, kind of low. You don't want to think about pulling up on the handles with your hands. You want to think about driving your elbows back and really trying to pull from the lats at the same time that you're throwing your back into extension. From here, went on to a VGrip pull down. Took these pretty light. Again, back was pretty well smoked, so just kind of finishing off a little bit with some VGrip pull downs. I usually like to include these if I can. Again, I've talked about these before. They just hit the lats, the lower part of the lat, in a really unique way. But you got to do them right. Again, you're going to bring the handle down to a slightly different spot than you would on a regular lat pull down. You're not going to pull down to your collarbone or your upper chest. You're going to lean back a little bit with your back in extension. But you're going to lean back and you're going to pull down to your upper abs. You're going to allow the weight to stretch a lot at the top, really get a good stretch, and then pull down again. Pull from your lats, and think about kind of driving your elbows down rather than pulling with your hands, and you'll feel these a lot more. You'll feel them in the lower portion of your lats, which is a hard area to hit, especially after doing the rack pulls. The whole bottom part of my back was just on fire, so in a good way. But I usually like to finish off with these. I think we just did 3 sets of 10 here. And then finished off with some rear delts. Just 3 sets, lightweight, strict form, 3 sets of like 15. And then I think I finished with a drop set afterwards just to push a little bit more blood into the rear delts and the upper back. But I generally train rear delts on my back day just because they're so heavily involved. It just kind of makes sense to just finish them off with a couple of real quick sets. And that was it. So I moved fast through this one. I got all that volume done in around an hour, which is good. I like to keep the reps up high and just kind of more of a bodybuilding style workout. But I find that pairs good with a heavier like deadlift day later in the week. So anyways, that was it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you have questions, and I'll talk to you next time.